when some of the best players of Transformers Earth Wars, like for example Gods from Prime, asked me to make a list on each separate class, for example, I just have to deliver because they really needed to share to other players as well. And I figured that a lot of people say that the main tier list is a bit overwhelming, especially for some people that may be colorblind. So I'm gonna make one separating each and every single class, and it's again, you can find the link down in the description, and it is under the same tier list as this, so I don't clutter this too much, you know, because there are plenty of classes and but yeah. Okay, so let's go. This is for offense only, so their outpost viability will not be counted for this. If you wish to see how they perform as outposts, I do have an outpost list over here as well on the same link. You can find it all with builds and everything, and also have a video explaining why each and every single bot, you know, how they function as an outpost, why they have the specific placement, etc. If you want to learn more. Now, let's go into the rankings, and let's go with Power Glide and Cyclonus first, and they're absolutely going to a please rework tier. That's because they really need a rework, and their rework is work in progress. It's been for some time now. It's been a bit stagnant lately with some of the new content and transfer from Space Ape to Yoda 1. But you know, they're gonna get reworked eventually, and they need a rework because they are 4-star at most. And even 5-star variant would not save them. The thing is that with their ability is, first off, they are not really paired up. For example, Power Glide has free cast, which means that he can drop his ability, his bombs anywhere on the map, while Cyclonus does not have a free cast, meaning he has to target a certain building to do it. And in addition to that, they do very low damage across a really huge area. So yeah, they need a rework completely. Now, Blades and Dirge. Definitely putting them in the meta-ish. They're not quite super meta anymore. The reason why is that there are at least 2 defense buildings that cannot be hacked, being MDS and Shock Tower, which ends up being 4 buildings in the HQ18 meta. So they cannot be hacked. In addition, some outposts. People will very commonly use something like Liege Maximo Core, which prevents outposts from being hacked. They can also use on their melee bots something like Forge of Souls, which gives hack immunity and revive. So yeah, it's absolutely an amazing weapon for defense. They can also use something like Bastruck and Lancelot for more hack immunity. So yeah, hacking will be a bit of a problem, but they still have a purpose. For example, they can be used to drop Sidetrack and Growl for us, so they can be used as a pseudo sack in a sense. I'll go more into details, you know, about this in the one of the upcoming videos, but they have a use. You know, they're not super meta anymore, but they have a use. Now, Swoop and Scourge, and with them I'm going into the useful tier. Their ability is too expensive to be commonly used. You will probably use it twice, and the viability on offense is that at ability level 11 it can stun. And however, it's a problem because it shoots 8 in the beams, and it shoots in a really wide area, so it can be a problem if there is just too much clutter. For example, if you pop outposts and you let them get pulled to you, for example, you just use something like a sack bot, like Cup and Dead End or something like that, and you pull them back in front, like from away from the kill zone, then Swoop and Scourge have some use because they can stun and deal some decent damage to those outposts, but otherwise if there's too much clutter, don't reuse them. Tigerhawk and Waspinator. Them I will put in the meta-ish, and they're a bit slept on. They're similar to Swoop and Scourge, but they affect smaller area, so they, in my opinion, have a bit more value in regards to that, because they may be a little bit easier to use. They also do huge damage. They do huge area damage, absolutely. And they also apply slowdown. Now, slowdown, I think it should last longer than it does, but they definitely do have some value. They have a passive stun if you do not have a gun, although I'm not really a big fan of that because I think it puts them very too close to the fire zone. So yeah, they have some potential and can be used really well even for, you know, bottom loaded bases openings to destroy some things like spider mines and something problematic. But and they're definitely much cheaper than the Swoop and Scourge. You can use their ability maybe up to 3 times without getting too expensive. So yeah. Cosmos and Mind Wipe. That we have to put them in the useful tier. Their main use is to hack Megatronus if Megatronus is hackable. And again, as for outposts, similarly to Blades and Dirge, they will not be able to hack a good chunk. It will depend on the base that you are going up against, but they may not be able to hack a good chunk of things. So they have use, And for that use, they're absolutely excellent, but that use is a bit rare, not the most common thing. So they're great, they have more value as an outpost, but they have a use, but again, it's a bit of a niche use. Silverbolt and Thundercracker, gonna have to put them in the meta-ish, not full meta. The reason why is first of it is damage over time, and that is mainly a problem because a lot of those buildings can be healed through the damage. For example, a lot have, like Micronus, everyone has Micronus, Alchemist, etc. All those buildings that heal, and the damage over time loses value from that as well. In addition, not really rarely, but maybe 30% of the time, these people will run lightning god build bots. It prevents stuns and decrease the electric damage, so we'll have to destroy the build bot before getting the full value of this bot. He also has a utility by being able to drop Sidetrack and Growl, similarly to Blades and Urge, so you can use it as a pseudo sack. But yeah, that's pretty much about him. He has use, again, but this use is not super, super duper common, right? Now, Jetfire and Starscream, I will end up putting them in the meta tier, and the reason why is that they are very cheap single target damage dealers, which also do a fair amount of AoE damage. They leave a fire trail behind them if you have them at ability level 11. Their bot specific core is pretty solid, and they can one-shot some very crucial buildings. Sometimes, for example, for MDS, for the shield gen, sometimes if Micronus takes just in this unfortunate amount of time, they may not be able to one-shot it. So sometimes you may have to use a White Kremzik to definitely one-shot the shield gen for sure. But they can absolutely do it, and they're very solid. They have a fair cost, they can snipe some problematic buildings, and they are very useful in regards to that. Firefly and Blastoff, similar thing pretty much, except they do the area damage around the final building instead of making a fire trail, and they do normal damage all the way. Again, similar thing as Jetfire Starscream, I think they even do same damage, very similar bots. And another thing that I want to mention, for example, I'm not saying that Jetfire and Starscream are better than Firefly and Blastoff. I'm not going to rank them individually, just going to rank them per tier, because some of the jets, they do not do same things. You will see later on, but not all jets are equal, not all do the same thing, so they are not ranked, again, Blades is not better than Tigerhawk, for example. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they are both candidates for this tier, okay? Just to clarify. Now, Trax and Cutthroat, absolutely going into the meta tier. They have only 4-star variant, but even as a 4-star, absolutely amazing. They apply a lot of smoke in a really huge area for a very long amount of time that blocks a lot of damage. Overall, they make your squad survive. It's going to be very important in higher leagues like Cybertron and Caminus. They have a huge value there and can be comboed with some other bots to improve survivability even more. So these bots, if you think your team is dying and there's some gaps to fill, I highly recommend this bot. Now, Air Raid and Slipstream, they're easily a meta tier bot. They do huge damage for only 3+2 cost, huge range. At about level 11 they will also stun, so have some additional utility. But you will mainly use it for destroying faraway buildings, especially in top-loaded bases, or back-loaded as some people call them, because they have huge range and they pair really, really well with Smokescreen and Breakneck, and Blue Streak and Wild Rider, for example. So yeah, absolutely amazing bots, and I highly suggest going for them. Now, Brainstorm and Skyhawk, same thing, absolutely meta bots. A bit, a bit different from Air Raid and Slipstream in the essence that they affect a bit of a bigger area, and each building destroyed acts as a domino effect. For example, they do a bit 30% less damage than Air Raid and Slipstream, but affect multiple buildings. So, if you destroy more than one building, like 2 buildings for example, they will out-damage Air Raid and Slipstream. If you do not, they may not quite do it, so they need a bit of a better understanding how to use. They also have a little bit higher cost, but they also have additional value from the fact that they have a built-in Vector Prime core effect, which means they get a revive, and also all the all the buildings affected by their ability will be slowed down by 95% for about 16.5 seconds at ability level 11 for a 5-star variant, which is also additional utility. So a very flexible bot, and if absolutely has a great use and commonly available use. So I really love this bot. And let me take something. Let's go with Cybertron Jetfire and Cybertron Starscream. Absolutely situational. First off, again, they use 4-star variant is the highest variant. They also have absurdly high cost. Their cost is 6 plus 2. Excuse me. It's stupid high cost. They do same damage as Jetfire and Starscream, the 4-star variants, by only affecting. They only affect single building, and their main thing is that they do, I believe, triple damage to buildings in raids. But they're just absolutely not worth it. They're not really good at that either. They need a 5-star variant and a bit of an adjustment to their ability. Because currently, yeah, they're situational to mostly raids. And even then, I would not really suggest using them at all. Let's go with something like Strafe and Trust now, yeah. Definitely putting them in the useful tier. Because they absolutely do have some use. In terms of damage, they will peak at Camille's League. Cybertron and Prime, they will be doing a little bit too less damage. However, for those leagues, for some cases, for some bases, like top-loaded or back-loaded, as some people call them, they can be used as a pseudo-sack. Meaning that, for example, if bottom has like maybe 2-3 offensive buildings, usually Quintus, you can deploy them, destroy that building, and the way that their ability works, that they will walk up to the base, because their ability targets only defenses. They will walk right up, and they can be used as a sack. They can pop outposts or a combiner or something. So they have some use that people don't really that people sleep on, but they have some use. Even in higher leagues, it's just may not be a huge destroyer use. They have some value, absolutely. Let's go with Wing Saber and Dreadwing. Absolute meta bot. People don't really understand how this bot works, and I will have a video covering him, but he is absolutely amazing. He removes shielding. He applies glass gas. He does a lot of single target damage. He does a very fair amount of AoE damage as well, which also ends up being fire damage, which you can combo with other other damage sources. Overall, he does so many things! How could he not be meta? And he also is, again, a combo bot. So, for example, he can nuke Shieldgen clusters. For example, you can drop a Raid and Slipstream Bomb, or Brainstorming Eyehawk, whatever. Either you can drop on the Shieldgen. You can use him to attack the Shieldgen. And you may need to use a little bit of additional boost, like from a Titan ability, and it will nuke an entire Shieldgen area. Or use some other one-shotter who can, just do a little bit damage to that Shieldgen to finish it off, and boom, you nuke the whole thing. And they're element neutral. They do not care, Fireproof doesn't affect them. Lightning Girls don't affect them. Actually, Fireproof affects their AoE, but it doesn't even matter that much, because by that point, Fireproof will probably be gone. Yeah, they're absolutely amazing. Combo bots with a lot of utility. Absolutely amazing. I can't wait to cover them in a video. Let's see, BW, Silverbolt, and Cicada Corn. I'm putting them in the useful tier, mainly because they are 4-star, so at most they do a 4-star damage. Another problem is they also damage over time, which again can be completely healed over. I think what would save them is a 5-star variant and applying a heal block, similarly to Grapple and Dirtbag, who have an element neutral heal block, meaning they just block healing. I think that will bring them a lot of value and bump them definitely up to the meta tier. Skydive and Skywarp. I'm gonna have to put them in the meta-ish tier. Again, they have a 4-star variant at most. However, their 4-star does more damage than other 4-stars. But it is damage over time. Luckily, it is acid damage, which blocks healing if there are no antidote cores present, or if you destroy antidote cores. And they also do a very fair chunk of AoE damage if the main target is destroyed. So they have a lot of value, and they can do some really powerful attacks, but there are better bots that can do the similar things, so it's just something to consider. But once they get 5-star variant, I think they will definitely be bumped up to the meta tier. I'm really excited for their 5-star. Now, let's see. Slingshot and Acid Storm, definitely meta. First thing is, they're supposed to do acid. but they don't. Uh, their acid area is not actually registered in the game as an acid element, so it can still block healing even if antidote core present is active. So similarly to Dirtbag and Grapple, they block healing always, and they also do fire damage from their ability primarily, which is blocked by Fireproof, unfortunately. But they are very cheap ability to use. It does a lot of damage, and again, heal block utility, so very valuable bots to have. Jetfire, Sky Striker, and Skywarp Night Raven. I'm gonna put them in the situational tier. The reason why, they're good for some newer players to learn how those jets work. They do some single target damage, they do some area damage, they also go invisible when attacking. So they are very interesting, and I think they're good candidates for new players. But once they get, I think that a 5-star variant could absolutely bump them up in value. Which, the 5-star variant will also give them a little bit of buff, and can absolutely bump them up. So yeah, but currently I think they're just situational, mostly limited to lower leagues. Stormflash and Viper, definitely situational as well. Again, they're at most a 5-star variant. They do 4-star damage, and they're just unexceptional. They just don't do anything. They destroy a single target, and that's it. And as a 4-star, they are not really going to destroy any targets, in higher leagues. So yeah, SG Jetfire and SG Thundercracker, absolutely meta. They can destroy shield gen. They don't even have to use enhanced ordnance to destroy it if they are at a sufficiently high level. But otherwise, yeah, they just one-shot certain things, and you will mostly use this ability just once, maybe twice at most, because ability is just so expensive. But it has the drones that it also does are very useful for distracting enemies. They can, for example, distract Computron and Leo Kaiser, who will deploy their hack on the drones, and that will be wasted. So they do have some utility besides being a huge single target destroying machine. But overall, yeah, they're pretty great. Metal Hawk and Bombers also into the meta tier. They are so slept on. People don't really realize the value that they do. They do a very fair amount of area damage. Their cost is also very reasonable, and in addition to all of it, they shut down enemy damage tremendously. They shut down enemy speed, they shut down enemy range, and enemy speed, I think something. They just make enemies so much weaker, especially if your bots walk into a kill zone. They can make it a bit more forgiving. In addition, they can make dealing with outposts much easier, because outposts will do next to nothing in terms of damage. Effect lasts for 25 seconds. And they can also be paired with something like Ruination and God Neptune. There is a good strategy, a backdoor strategy as people call it, which I'm also going to cover in a video, where they can pretty much, destroy in a combo, destroy entire bases. For example, you can use them to shut down the kill zone, and then Ruination and God Neptune, in addition to your Titan, can pretty much finish off an entire base. So, they're amazing, absolutely. But very slept on. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this ranking. Again, it's for offense only, and if you see, for example, I don't mean that Jetfire and Starscream are better than, for example, Wing Saber and Dreadwing. Again, they're in the same tier, and I'm not going to rank them individually because they do different things. Trax and Cartwheel, for example, does protection, while Arid and Slipstream do huge damage. So I'm not saying one is better than the other, because they are absolutely not, because they do different things. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me down in the comments, and see you in the next one.